And yeah, I'm gonna end up scooping up that Sonic Shadow Generations, not on
too.
Switch 2, because even though I would want that physical, it's got that stupid game key card.
No.
Boo.
Boo.
Edition.
Boo.
So not gonna buy that.
No.
Oh, but are you going to get Disgaea 7 on Switch 2? No. Don't.
Yeah, I'm definitely
That's
not.
a rhetorical
definitely
question.
not a
Do not
Disgaea
get
guy.
it.
I wanna appreciate them maybe, and maybe I can, but like I definitely can't play them.
Oh, that was the other thing.
If I'm sitting here mulling over, like, I don't know if I could play Earthbound for 30 hours. You know, there's no way I'm going to play Disgaea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines
Hey there.
and Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And we are back, as always, to talk about some video games. I'm racking my brain here right now trying to come up with some kind of cheesy segue line. I never come up with anything good anyways, but I got nothing this time.
Cheddar cheese.
Yeah, the cheddar cheese won, baby. The long living gamer tag that I've, for some reason, never changed and for whatever reason picked back in the day. But nonetheless, yeah, we've all been doing a little bit of gaming lately. We've all been super busy lately as well. So, yeah, we'll have kind of maybe a shorter and sweeter episode here. We'll see how things go, but definitely a Sega-focused episode.
Yeah.
All right, maybe not on the game so much, but just Sega, across the board. And Randall, why don't you kick us off here with a little Dreamcast action?
I'd still say that this game is Sega coded, even if it's not Sega developed.
Yeah, it has that energy for sure.
Yeah, anything that came out on Dreamcast, kind of just gets that by default. Like that's just how it works.
Agreed.
I'm going to talk about Cannon Spike, and that is a Dreamcast release from the year 2000. Psycho developed, which is also really cool.
Which I did not know. This is taking me back to like the early days of the podcast too, when we talked about some of those Psycho shoot 'em ups with Dragon Blaze and whatever. I knew this was Capcom, and I had no idea that Psycho had a hand in this one.
I didn't either. It struck me, and it's like I've been booting this game multiple times, and then it just like it really, I was like, oh wait, Psycho, yeah, oh geez, yeah, like the guys that made Dragon Blaze and all those games that we were gushing about, however many years ago that was.
Yeah, that was like very early days of the podcast, and especially this game was really making me think of Zero Gunner 2 Minus, which is one of the games that we talked about way back when. But the gameplay, like just the way it's like kind of 3D, I'm not going to get too into it before I let you take the lead here, but I definitely was like getting shades of that game big time, which was probably my favorite of the Psycho ones, or at least was the most unique of the Psycho ones.
I'd agree.
We talked about way back when.
That or Dragon Blaze, those are my favorite ones, I would say.
Yeah, same. Those are the two for me as well.
Although so it's Psycho developed it, Capcom published it, and like for whatever reason, Capcom just made a go of it, and they were like the main developer on Dreamcast that wasn't Sega. They just released so much. They bankrolled so many games to happen on Dreamcast, and I am forever grateful to them for that, because I'm sure it was not as profitable as it could have been otherwise to continue down that road. Which is it's just so sweet, though, because it fits Dreamcast. Cannon Spike is an arcade game at its core. It started off as an arcade game before getting ported to Dreamcast. It actually used the Naomi arcade kind of platform that Sega had developed for that time frame. A lot of things got released on that. The Naomi board is basically a very close approximation to what happened when they made the Dreamcast hardware. Like, it's very much based on that. So that, to answer my own question of why Capcom supported, I know they developed and had encouraged development on that board as well, and that probably made porting said things a lot easier to that platform cost-wise and just amount of time to port and, make it work on Dreamcast, which is cool. But this is ultimately just like an arcade down 3D shooter mostly, and it's got a lot of Capcom characters, which is fun, which is also why there's a little bit of confusion that no, Capcom didn't technically develop this, but a lot of their IP is all over this thing. Charlie from Street Fighter Alpha, he of which is I don't remember, like an uncle or something to Guile, something. I was
wondering because I was like, that was the first character I played as, and I was like, wait, why is this guy doing Sonic Booms? I was like, who does this guy think he is? But I knew he was from another Capcom game. But that obviously
he's
makes
got glasses
sense.
Instead of not having glasses, and that makes him a different character. Yeah, he doesn't have an America tattoo.
I was gonna say, presumably a different haircut as well.
A little bit. Still big hair though. And then Cammy from Street Fighter 2 New Challengers is here. Technically, Sir Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins / Ghouls and Ghosts is here, although he is just hulked out to the max. And I'm someone that loves those Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins games, and it didn't immediately jump out to me that was that character of Arthur.
I had to read the name, and I'm like, oh, I guess it kind of looks like the version of Arthur when you get totally souped up with the gold armor in Super Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever.
Saying.
But I so rarely, number one, I'm ever in that form in that game. I'm usually in my underwear. For 90% of the game when I'm playing that,
because you took your hit, and went flying backwards. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but no, you're right on the money. They definitely just hulked him out in this, and just were like, okay, he's just going to be basically like a mech, like Arthur in a mech suit or something. Almost is what it feels like.
We were in our early aughts, entering our edgelord territory sort of stuff here, so we have to make everything super, Nothing could look like a cutesy cartoon at this point, I don't think. It had to be cool. So, there's a couple other original characters. There's other secret characters. We even talked about a little bit before the pod that these secret characters, like Mega Man, most notably, which also interesting, just from a marketing decision, not to have Mega Man as one of the main things that you could use to sell a game like this. That he's a secret character is just
a slap choice. Mega Man on the cover, because it's almost in a weird way. It's I was like, this is obviously nowhere near what Super Smash Brothers is, but it's kind of a little Capcom Celebration love letter in a weird shooter. Top down, it is a shoot 'em up, but it's like a twin stick, but it's not. It's very interesting.
You don't got no twin stick.
Exactly,
you got one stick, solo stick.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why one of your main buttons is a lock on, a la Panzer Dragoon, or a la even the Z targeting system from 3D Zeldas of a lock on, so that you can kind of strafe with that same single stick while you're kind of auto firing your long range attack. But what also makes it unique when you're playing in these little 3D arenas that you're getting thrown on in the 10 different levels and the different scenes is that you have a short range attack. It could be a kick, or in Arthur's case, a spear attack that's super powerful. Those do a lot of damage, but of course then you're right up in the enemy's face. A lot of times those are bosses, and it won't take much for you to also get carved right through if you're not careful and paying attention to patterns and the bullet hell stuff you're weaving through. That feels real good to have that kind of different attacks and ways you can go about these different stage scenarios, I would say.
Yeah, no, I like I said, you kind of encouraged me to dust off my Dreamcast. I was like, okay, I meant to pull it out before I left for work this morning, but I dug it out after I got home, and I was I haven't booted this thing up in probably over 10 years, so I was like, oh man, I don't know if this thing's even going to turn on. But nonetheless, I was like, with you bringing up Cannon Spike, I was like, let me pull out a couple of my shoot 'em ups.
Oh yeah,
and dust these off and see if this thing's working. And I did fire up Cannon Spike first out of everything. Started off with Charlie just because he was the character that was the leftmost character on the character select screen. I think there's 5 that you can pick from. And I actually had a pretty good first run. There's 10 levels in total.
Yeah.
And I made it to the 5th level on my first try.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I made it as far as stage 8 on my last run.
Oh, that's real good. You did better than me. I think I got 7, I want to say, on the run I made last night.
I died like immediately as I got to stage 8. Like I barely beat the boss, and like you don't get any kind of refill of health or anything like that.
Right. And they ain't giving you any extra lives. At least I could never get an extra life achieved. I got health refills from, enemy drops, which is another thing that happens, in these sort of arcade games. You get the health drops and the special item refills or whatever, but no life one-ups of any kind that I could get.
Well, one thing that's really cool is like there's 2 different types of health pickups. You either get like a little like pill capsule, which just like refills your health if you've taken damage, or they'll be like your health is kind of like represented by these like kind of like turquoise like rectangles or whatever.
Yeah, those like bars
at the top of the screen.
Yeah,
they're like kind of vertical, just kind of stacked alongside one another. And then you can pick up like another one of those vertical bars, like will drop every once in a while, and it'll just add another bar to your health bar.
Oh, geez. I didn't even track that
carries
that's what
over as you die. I know. I was trying to figure out. I was like, maybe this is just a bigger health pickup, and I was like, oh no, it just adds another tick to your health bar. I don't know if that carries over as like if you die. I don't know if it carries over, but it is one of those games where you do have a health bar. It's not just like one hit and you're instantly dead, and it's relatively forgiving, but it also does that thing that I think we all loved about the Psycheo games when we talked about them before, where it's just like shuffling up the levels every time. I don't know if it's basing it off of what character you pick, or what, but every time you play, the first level is going to be, I mean, if you play enough, you're going to see the same levels and some of the same spots, but like theoretically, it's giving you a random order of the levels each time, and then therefore, like sometimes like the first level might be like this like graveyard level, and when if you play it first, it's pretty easy, but if you play it as the 6th or 7th level, it's like, man, I thought this boss was easy the first time around. Like it's taken forever to kill this thing. And it just keeps like kind of throwing you for a curveball. Like you can kind of memorize what the level is going to be, but you like if you haven't seen this level that late in the game yet, it's definitely going to throw you for a loop.
Oh, that's a great call out too, because I had thought so I played this solo for a bit, but then Tina and I played it, and we've only exclusively played on those Octopus arcade sticks that I talked about before, because very much an arcade experience. Like this is just only way I'm going to play this. It would, and again, it felt great, but all that to say is, I was thrown off by like, whoa, we're starting on a different level playing 2-player than, I was playing 1-player. But then especially so because even, subsequent plays throughs with her, like was the case, but it might've just been, like you said, maybe it's based on whoever is player 1 and what character they chose more than anything else to set that order of levels.
Yeah. I couldn't decide because sometimes I'd be like, I picked Arthur, and then it started me in this like kind of spooky level. Like maybe that's on purpose, but I couldn't tell, but there's like a pretty good variety of stages in terms of like the settings and the scenery and stuff like that.
I just love that clean arcade aesthetic that was the case on those sort of games, 32-bit, like the Saturn and Dreamcast, those arcade games that like the 3D arcade, how clean it looks and just like fast. And it just had a certain, I don't know, had a certain mood to it.
Yeah.
I just love those games.
It made me very jealous of your setup because like I'm playing it on, I just like dug out like a smaller, flat screen TV that I had and just hooked it up with like the composite, red, yellow and white.
I was wondering how you
cables.
got that hooked up so fast, what method you used. Yeah.
Yeah, just straight. I was like, do they even have composite cable hookups on the back of these flat screens anymore? And at least on this older one that I have, it did. So I was like, okay, let me plug this in and fire it up. And like I said, I had no issues, just had to do the typical, set the date on the Dreamcast and
naturally,
just,
hear the
mash
beep
A,
sound. Yeah.
Still year 2000, which I never knew that beep came from the actual VMU.
Yeah.
And not from the Dreamcast. Cause for whatever reason, my VMU is just stuck in my controller. Like I cannot pull it out for the life of me, but it was working. Like it was showing me the logo, the Canon Spike logo, and I played a few other games. But one thing I'll say, I actually kind of like that Dreamcast controller. I really like those, like it's got those shoulder buttons that feel kind of similar. Like they're more like triggers, but they have that spring feel like the GameCube shoulder buttons have. And this game, even in the settings, you can like pull up a left and right trigger, like thing that's showing you like the tension you're pulling down the trigger with. It's like filling up a bar. I don't think you can tweak it in any way, shape, or form, but you can definitely change it because my hand was kind of cramping up holding down the right trigger to do like the auto lock on, which is 'cause it's kind of interesting. The auto lock on it's either like it'll lock onto an enemy until you kill it and then it'll just unlock and you got to relock again, or it seems to be on some kind of timer. Like you can't just hold it down infinitely. It eventually just disengages the lock and then you have to press it again.
Right.
To like kind of,
and you have to be facing
a red laser.
Yeah. To get that lock on the enemy you want. Yeah.
And I think you even have to be pointing at them for like not super long or anything, but just like you can't just like skate right past them, because I don't even think we mentioned every character other than one is like rollerblading around.
Yeah.
Or one's like on like a hoverboard. Yeah, like some kind of hoverboard surfboard thing.
Sure.
And yeah, it's like you said, like with the melee attacks, it's almost like a shoot 'em up meets beat 'em up.
Yes.
And it's really one of the few games I can think of like that. Not that there aren't other shoot 'em ups that have like a melee attack or kind of like a sword swipe sort of thing to them, but like this one being that you're like a character on the ground, just with like a pretty big 3D, character model. Like it's kind of, that's one thing. It can be a little tricky to dodge some of like the bullet hell patterns, because you're just like, I'm just this massive, character on rollerblades that's like trying to weave through these thin little, crevices in the bullets.
But you can get in the zone too, though, and you can get into that like zone feel with it, like you can a shooter, and that just feels so good too when you do.
Yeah, no, this is I'm so glad that you mentioned this game, because I'll say right now that this is easily one of my favorite shooters I've ever played.
Hell yeah.
I am having so much fun.
Hell yeah.
Like it's just got, like you said, it's got that Sega, that arcade, that Capcom energy. Like you said, I kind of forgot about how many games Capcom put out on the Dreamcast. Like
my God,
Stone,
they're unbelievable supporters.
So many of those games,
that
all have that set. Like Power Stone kind of has a similar energy to it.
Yes, it does. Yep, you got Power Stone. There's so many releases, all like the Street Fighter versus like SNK. Like there are all kinds of things, like, or Capcom versus SNK. There's like a ton of releases that Capcom did on there, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I also love this game. I love Cannon Spike. It's not like the most in-depth game in the world, but I kind of love it for that too. It's just an arcade game, and it plays perfectly on this platform.
Yeah, it's like a perfect console port. And I teased this a little bit before we started recording, but when I pulled this game out to play it, it was one of the few games that like I bought it at like a local used game shop, and it still had the price tag of what I paid for it on the back. I never peeled it off, and I looked it up on price charting before, and it goes for about $320 is like the going rate for this game, and I paid $45. So. And that's like at a game shop, like usually you're paying like top dollar. Like I was saying before we started recording, like I probably was sitting there mulling it over, like, do I really need to add this game to the pile?
Amazing.
And, sure enough. And then just real quickly too, since I did dig out the Dreamcast, I did another Capcom game. I fired up Mars Matrix, which is just like a bullet hell shoot 'em up arcade game, very much just like traditional, like, top down vertically scrolling. I didn't get quite into this one enough. I only played this one very, very briefly. I was getting my ass just kicked. Couldn't even beat the first level. Exact opposite situation of Cannon Spike, but I still was having fun, and I was starting to get the hang of the mechanics a little bit. It was just kind of weird because like they had everything mapped to like 2 buttons when they clearly, like, it's like hold this down longer to trigger this thing and do this to, fire this kind of shot or suck in all the enemy bullets. And it's like, if they would have just had that be a separate button, it would have been a little easier to like learn the game, I guess. I don't know. I just had a little bit of a hard time like figuring out what button did what. Because it had like one of those intros where it just like plays a video that shows you everything you can do in the game, like a lot of shoot 'em ups have. Right. It just like you press start and it's just like showing you all the different mechanics, but it wasn't telling you ever what button to press. Like it was just like, this is the mosquito shot. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? But nonetheless, it was still cool to play and like just see another shoot 'em up on the Dreamcast. And then I also fired up Bangai-O for a quick second. Yeah. Which is a game from Treasure. I've been on a little bit of a Treasure kick lately, actually playing like some Genesis games, Gunstar Heroes, and a few other things here and there. But Bangai-O I just fired up for a quick minute or two. And this is another game that has like a real weird control scheme. You have to use like the D-pad. You kind of play as like I'm presumably like a giant mech character, but you look like this tiny little dinky sprite
itty bitty
on the screen.
Yeah.
and you just explore these pretty open-ended maps, and I tweaked the controls to be where like basically the 4 face buttons were allowing you to fire your weapon in almost like a twin stick control. So I'm using like you can't use the joystick, you have to use the D-pad to control your character, and you can just kind of like almost like you can walk on the ground. You start out on the ground, but like if you press up, you just start flying upwards, and then if you press right, you just start hovering and flying directly to the right. And you can kind of double tap and start flying faster in any direction. And then again, I'm using like the 4 face buttons to kind of like octo-directionally fire. You know, you can hold down 2 of them at a time to fire on an angle, or just one of them to fire, you know, up, down, left, or right. And you're basically just like, I don't really even know what I'm supposed to be doing in this game. I'm just like blowing up all the buildings. When they blow up, they drop like oranges or something. So I'm just like collecting those. And then eventually like a boss just shows up that looks pretty much exactly like me. And then we just duel it out. And then I either win or lose. And then if I win, it unlocks the next stage. And I'm like, I can't figure out if I'm like finding the boss on the level, because they're kind of these like open-ended, like light exploration levels.
Right.
Or if I'm like getting enough points that's triggering the boss to appear, or like blowing up enough of like the city buildings, or I can't really figure out what the heck is going on in this game. It's like one of the weirdest games I've ever played.
It's a little obtuse, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really cool at the same time. It's just got this weird energy to it that like, again, like just feels of that Dreamcast era that,
yes, I
don't know, it just feels cut from a different cloth that you just don't see. You know, they even made like a follow-up to this game, I think on the DS.
Yes.
And I don't know if it had this same kind of energy to it or not. I never played that one, but you know, there's like these weird little, like when you beat a level, it's like shows this like victory scene with your stats, and it's like this like almost like childlike hand-drawn like cartoon drawing of like, it looks like Ultraman, like punching some giant thing in the background. I'm like, what does Ultraman have to do with this game? Isn't that like a licensed property? Like it is just the weirdest game. Yeah. But kind of cool and interesting. And you got 2 different characters that you can swap between that each like have different types of like the one character that you start as has like kind of like a homing missiles that, you know, lightly kind of veer towards the enemies you're firing at. The other one has like these lasers that ricochet off the walls. So you get to like levels where there's like, okay, there's like this kind of angled path or tunnel that you can like ricochet your shots all through, clear all the enemies out, and then, you know, just leisurely walk through there and explore that section. So it's pretty cool. I might go back to that one more, but Cannon Spike, I'm pretty determined. Like, I want to beat this game before I pack my Dreamcast back up.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe even dig through the rest of the stack I got here. I don't have anything amazing on the Dreamcast, but I do have like Power Stone 1 and 2, although those are definitely meant for, you know, playing with some pals.
Yes.
But there's a few other games that I definitely wouldn't mind firing up just for nostalgia's sake. Even like
don't you have GigaWing too?
I don't have GigaWing, or if I do, I lost it at some point, but I don't think so. I think it was on my list, and like Gunbird 2. I thought I had that as well, but I think I just bought that digitally over the years.
Gotcha.
But there's a few like
which character did you click with best for Cannon Spike? Do you remember?
I had my best run where I got to level 8 with I think the character's name was like Sheba or Shibo.
Oh yeah.
The one on the surfboard.
Yeah, kind of like the main character per se, at least in the character.
That's what I assumed.
Which I think is
like
original
right in the middle, like it defaults to picking. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, is this an original character?
Yeah.
Or is it from a different game? I mean.
Yeah.
But I probably clicked the best with Charlie. Like I feel like if I did another run with Charlie, I would definitely be able to do a little bit better. But I feel like it's nice. Like every character like basically has the same, like they all have slightly different moves, but it's like, okay, your X attack is going to do like a piercing shot.
Yes.
Your regular shot's just going to do like your regular shot. I don't know, but it's just so fun to like lock onto an enemy, and like because of that like timer that auto unlocks, like for me, I'm almost like purposely like getting up real close to the enemy so that like by the time that the cursor unlocks, I'll be all the way on the other side of them, and it'll fully turn me around in time to where like even if I'm not locked on, I'm still pointing at the enemy,
right,
or the boss or whatever, and you're just like,
and then you can strafe from there anyway, you know, and still do damage by like strafing on the other side of the screen and generally attacking. And of course, you're generally, even if you're fighting a boss, there's little, you know, minion characters that'll be, you know, creeping up from time to time. So it's nice for that too.
they really force you to use like the full real estate of the screen for your character. Like you really have to move around the level a lot, even though they're pretty small, like tight spaces a lot of the time.
Yeah, little arenas basically.
Yeah, it's just an awesome game. I love this game. I'm really glad you brought this one to the table here.
Yes.
And yeah, to just keep things in the Sega realm, why don't we kick it over to John here and hear what you've been playing lately?
Yeah. So I've actually been watching a lot of Sonic Let's Plays recently because the one channel that I follow for like watching Let's Plays and streams, Run Button, is redoing their, at the time, Let's Play 20 years of Sonic Let's Play series, but that was 13 years ago when that started. So
that's insane.
Yeah. So they're remaking that now that there's even more Sonic games to play. And also, you know, times have changed and maybe watching a 13-year-old YouTube video is not the best use of your time. But it got the itch in me to play a lot of these games, which, you know, back 13 years ago, I still didn't have a lot of systems that could play Sonic games. I was basically just had like Nintendo systems up until that point, and didn't have a lot outside of, you know, Sonic Advance on the Game Boy Advance and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube.
Nice.
And that was basically the extent of Sonic games that I played.
Okay.
But one of the things that they did in their Let's Play was, for Sonic Generations, they would play the original level from the game that, and if you haven't played Sonic Generations, the whole thing is you have a classic Sonic level and you have a modern Sonic level, and they're all kind of remakes or remasters or reimaginings of game or levels from the original like main Sonic series. So they have Green Hill Zone from the original. They have Chemical Plant from Sonic 2. They have one from Sonic CD, and like all the way up to through I think probably Sonic Colors, I think, was the last one before Generations. Wow. So yeah, it sounds really is like its own unique time capsule of the like Sonic series. And so, you know, as they're playing through it on this Let's Play 20 Years of Sonic, they're doing is like the original level on the original game, and then, you know, the classic Sonic version on Sonic Generations and the modern Sonic version on Sonic Generations. And that was just like a really interesting format to do. But then at the same time, I've collected these games over the years. I had bought Sonic Generations, who knows when, and like they also released Sonic Origins, which was another compilation game where, you know, it had Sonic CD, Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, and then like 12 Game Gear games, which was a lot of them. And I, you know, played a little bit of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which was, I think, the first English release of Puyo Puyo. I don't think that there was one before.
Kirby's Avalanche came around like almost the same time. I think you're right, though. I think Dr. Robotnik was first.
Yeah, which is such an interesting way to like bring that game series over. But like, I was playing a little bit of Sonic Origins as well as Sonic Generations, and like Sonic Generations I just thought was a good game and like was really fun to like kind of get that taste of a, you know, here's a retrospective of this series that isn't necessarily just like a compilation game, which a lot of these, like, I've been playing a lot of the Castlevania compilation games recently, and those are really nice because like you get to see, usually they'll have a lot of like, here's the original manual or like original box art for every release in every language, and they have the same stuff in Sonic Origins. But a thing that I was a little disappointed by was that I remember the Sonic Gems collection, which was on the GameCube, and that wasn't like a full compilation because it didn't have any of the mainline releases, but it had, in addition to like Sonic CD, it had Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R.
Sonic R.
At the time, like, you couldn't get like a Saturn like copy of it or stuff like that. And like it also had a couple of the Game Gear games on the Gems collection, but the Gems collection also had Vector Man and Vector Man 2.
Oh, weird.
And the first 3 Streets of Rage.
Hey.
Like
Weird.
Like they're just odd little pack-ins or like inclusions of history that like I don't know, if you've made one compilation game like that has all of this stuff in it, and then in my head I didn't do my due diligence and check to see what was all included in Sonic Origins, but in my head it was like, well, they had Vector Man in the first Sonic compilation game. Of course they're going to have it in the next, and of course they don't. Like, why would they? It's not necessary.
That is wild. They would have the Vector Man games in there.
Right. That seems so random because those aren't even in Streets of Rage 2. Like, those aren't like Sonic team games. Like, it'd be one thing if it was like, hey, Ristar's in the package.
Right.
Right.
That would make more sense.
Right.
But
yeah, it would.
Vector Man was apparently developed by Blue Sky Software, but at least like the Streets of Rage were Sega developed. Like, so.
Right.
But at this, it's just been an interesting, I don't know, trip through playing games. Like I still haven't played a lot of Sonic games. Like I've played various iterations of Green Hill Zone over the years.
Of course.
And just because like it gets remade a lot. It's a very classic like initial like level of a video game, kind of a classic of video game design. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's still a little unfamiliar to me, and I don't have the muscle memory down, which is both a blessing and a curse because it's not tripping me up if it's not exactly 1-to-1 recreation. But at the same time, I'm just also running into walls and not optimally playing. But I don't know. It's an interesting experience.
It was actually really interesting when you were describing Sonic Generations, because like as you were describing it, I was like, is John talking about Sonic Mania? I was like, does he have the wrong game right now? Because like it is kind of like that's sort of what they did. You know, they like took one level from one of the original games, and then took that same level theme and like expanded on it and kind of made their own for the second like act in that zone. But like Generations does the thing where it's like kind of like a 2D Sonic level and then a 3D Sonic level. But the way you're describing it, I was like, man, that's interesting. Like Mania kind of did a really similar thing in a different direction and keeping it all 2D. But it kind of took the similar approach.
The Mania had new levels and new themes too, though. Yeah, I want to give it credit for that.
That's true.
But like also Sonic Origins has all of the Mania cutscenes in it, but it doesn't have any Mania levels in it. So
bizarre.
It's really bizarre. Like Sonic Origins is kind of a weird title.
Yeah.
Like
I remember it was even had some like people talking about it because I think they even released it originally like as like individual games that you could like buy as DLCs. Okay, because
I got it as like plus, so I think I have all of like the DLC.
Yeah, I think they eventually released it as like a bundle package.
Right. But
I remember that people like being like kind of like, what the heck is going on with this? Like, why are they releasing it like this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
at first.
It's the same thing like when Konami released like the Castlevania Advance Collection and then the Dominus Collection, like doing it piecemeal, but also kind of as a compilation, trying to get, as wide a net as you can, but also make as much money as you possibly can off of re-releasing these old games. So,
yes.
Yeah. There's always going to be imperfections. It's never going to be like comprehensive or like have absolutely everything that you possibly would want, but it's still nice because, I've never bought or owned any of the games prior to this. So it was kind of nice to be like, you know what, I'll get this and I'll have all the original Sonic games. And the thing that I actually do like both about, I think, Kevin, you would like this maybe more in Generations, is that it has a lot of like challenge levels or, here's a mission that is we've changed the layout of this level so it's a little bit more of like either a precision platformer or like an enemy rush mode, or you need to beat this ghost in this. So there's a lot more just like bespoke levels in that, And then in Sonic Origins, it also has these levels that are like have either, their missions are what they call them. And like each mission it's like, all right, well, this one, like you have to, in Sonic CD, it's almost like kind of a tutorial because Sonic CD is kind of an obtuse game
yes.
Can go backwards and forwards in time, and it's not always exactly clear where. So, like, the first mission for Sonic CD is go backwards and forwards in time. Like, go to the past and to the future. And it's like, all right, well, this mission is just teaching you a core mechanic of this game. Like, I'm assuming they're going to get more complicated as things go on. But it's a nice little inclusion to be like, hey, here are these levels you know and love. Here's a little twist on it. And that's nice.
That's really cool.
And I want to say, was Generations the first of the 2D Sonics that added in that like homing jump attack where you can like jump and then in midair press like the attack button again and it kind of like zips to the targeted enemy? Or was that a different
know
game?
If you can do that in the 2D, the classic 2D levels. Like,
yeah, maybe it was only in the 3D levels.
In the modern ones, the 3D ones do have 2D sections in them because this is also like an interesting point in Sonic's game design where the 3D portions are either like borderline quick time events. Like they will have like you'll fly through the air and then you'll have like button prompts on like the screen that will give you a little boost to either your overall score or speed. But even still, when you're on the ground or like running, like it's pretty much like you can use the shoulder buttons and it moves you like hard to the right or to the left so that you can like make a real quick dodge against like something coming up. So it feels less like I don't know. I'm also playing the Sonic Adventure 2 on a Steam version of it because I don't have the GameCube copy anymore. I sold that years ago, which I regret because that also had all of my
I sold mine too.
All of my chow that I raised on
that's right.
the Sonic Advance, which man, what a scam that was. That's how you get people to replay your Sonic Advance levels a million times, is because you need rings to buy little toys for your chow to play with.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that was the conceit with those.
Oh, I spent so much more time in those two Sonic games in the chow gardens raising little guys and playing the actual game.
It's fair enough too, to be honest. Not the strongest Sonic games. But yeah,
back. Like the level design and like those early 3D Sonics, like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, is interesting. Like they're trying their darndest and they're doing some interesting stuff, but you don't have like twin stick camera controls, so you'll be midair and then suddenly, because they want to do a nice cinematic, whatever, like the camera pitches 180 degrees and whatever direction you're holding the stick in is suddenly the wrong direction. So there is a lot of like classic game design of just kind of memorizing levels and being like, all right, once I get to this section, let go of the control stick and let momentum do its work for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's plenty of that there. I will say, too, I was looking back on Sonic Origins and like the Plus, and I'd forgotten that they had added Amy as a playable character to like Sonic 1 through 3 and Knuckles and CD. Like, that's dope. And then Knuckles he could play in CD too, which was not the case before.
Yeah,
so,
and they kind of have turned them into like file selects. So like you could do each character as a different like whatever, and I like that. That's a way to like go back to those earlier games, because I think 3 was the first one with like a file select, and like you couldn't do that in the earlier ones, which I'm so grateful for, because boy howdy I love walking away from a game and being able to pick it back up.
Same. Especially a retro thing like that. Yeah.
Big time.
Hey, some of those Game Gear games are actually worth turning on at the very least, too. Some of those were pretty impressive for what they were.
Spinball.
Even just to see real quick,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's some interesting ones in the, whatchamacallit, in the Origins, like Game Gear collection. There's like, 12, I think, Game Gear
Just nuts.
That's crazy.
More than okay, actually, now that I think about it, maybe the 12 is when they're also including like 2-player versions of Game Gear ones, which is like you can have a play single player Mean Bean Machine, or you can play 2-player Mean Bean Machine.
Oh, that's
but those
cool.
are separate titles. So
That's kind of
that's
sweet, though.
Yeah.
I love that.
You definitely have me wanting to go back to Sonic Generations, because that's a game I picked up on the PS3 way back when. I think I probably got rid of it at some point because I'm always like, I don't really like Sonic games, but that's one that I remember. Weirdly, that game and Sonic Colors are like two of my personal favorite Sonic games, and I didn't like love Sonic Colors or anything, but I played it on the Wii, and I just remember thinking like I played all the way through it and I beat it, and I don't do that with too many games these days. True. So, granted, that was a long time ago, but. Even then, I don't always like see a game through all the way to the end, although I'm way more likely to do it with a platformer. But I think that's the only Sonic game I've ever beaten.
Yeah, I'm hoping to commit to finishing Sonic Generations, and like if that gets my, I don't know, interest raised up on some of these titles, I might go back. I doubt I'm going to ever play, Sonic Heroes or Sonic 06 specifically, right. But I don't know, if I find a copy of Sonic Colors, I might end up snagging that if it's a reasonable price. But I think for the time being, I think Generations is going to be more than sufficient. And there's now the Shadow Generations. That
I was just gonna say, and you said that you let us know that includes the original Sonic Generations within the game, like fully remastered and stuff too. So
that's cool.
Definitely has me curious to scoop that up, because I've never played any of the Shadow games, and they actually look kind of fun. I was looking up some of the gameplay. I was like, this looks totally different, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
So
that's a really cool conceit. That's a great way to like leverage the history of a thing, especially with the varied gameplay styles.
Yeah.
And it's been, like you said, especially with some of those games not being great games in their own right, but here's one level of that, and then you can move on with your life.
Every Sonic game has one good level.
Yes.
And the fact that it breaks it up from like 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. It's kind of like the perfect ebb and flow to that momentum of the game, like just keeping you moving forward instead of just like, oh, I got to do more of this, but it's just a little harder, or I got to learn this one new mechanic that I'm frustrated with. It's kind of just like, oh, like, I don't know. I just remember the 3D sections actually being really fun, even if they were a little bit like, I remember that, like, just hitting the shoulder buttons to kind of switch lanes, if you will, almost. But it's kind of, it almost feels like Race the Sun or something, you're like just dipping and diving out of the lanes to dodge the incoming attacks or whatever.
There was the very first mission in Generations where it was like, race this ghost and get a better time, and it's the very first one, and it's on Green Hill Zone, and I was doing horribly, but the CPU ghost was running into literally every enemy and stopping. So I was like, well, at least someone's worse than me.
That's great. Did they give you this? Awesome. Did they let you do the spin dash in that version of the first level of the first game?
They do, which is cool. So there's a lot of crucial. It's not a 1-to-1 recreation, but it's also kind of a quality of life better.
Better recreation.
It's wonderful. That's what needed to happen. Let's just smooth the fine, rough edges there. There are plenty in those Sonic games.
They even have done that in, like, I think Origins may also technically be remastered versions of it, because I'm pretty sure, like, the aspect ratio is different for those. I think
they like made them in widescreen, and like I think you can do the spin dash. I've definitely played older versions of Sonic 1 that added in the spin dash. And it was just like,
which is cool.
It was the same exact game, but just they added in the spin dash.
Makes a big difference.
It does. It really does.
Big time.
Now they just need to add in grinding.
Grinding the rails.
Yeah, soap shoes, baby.
Yeah.
It is 2001.
No, but this kind of just drives home the point, like, that we make, or at least that I've brought up a few times on the podcast. Like, I'm always way more in for, like, a reimagining of a game than a flat-out remake. Like, even though these maybe lean a little more towards the remake side of things, I still feel like it's not the same level. Like, it's just like a drawing inspiration from it, but, giving you a slightly new experience. And I'm always going to lean towards that over just like, let me play the exact same thing, because I'm either not going to like it as much or I'm going to like it more and then not like the old one. It's just like, I don't know. I don't need to add that dynamic into the equation. You know, I just want to play the game.
If it's going to be different, make it different.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else we want to gab about before we wrap things up here tonight, guys?
No, sir.
Nope.
Nice. Yeah, we ended up going way longer than I expected. There we wrote down 2 games to talk about and still went just as long as usual. So
naturally.
Perfect. Yeah, a little Sega, a little Dreamcast. You know we're gonna get rolling. Yeah. So
passion.
But yeah. As always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com and pretty much everywhere else on the internet. Just look up Pursuing Pixels. And yeah, otherwise, until next week, we will catch you then, and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sonic of America, or Sega of America and Sega of Japan making competing contemporary sequels to the original Sonic. That's how we get Sonic CD and Sonic 2. Like, oh my god.
It's also how we got the Sega CD and Sega 32X, for that matter.
Yep. Oh yeah, Knuckles Chaotix. Welcome to the 32X world, starring Knuckles the Echidna.
I also just love picturing the Sega tower of attachments.
Mm-hmm. That was like I loved seeing that. That Randall, that was one of my favorite things, to see the 32X in person, but also it be on top of the Sega CD and like everything about it.
Oh yeah,
incredible.
Yeah. And then plug your Knuckles and Sonic into it with your Sonic 3 plugged in.
I actually just did that. Yeah, Fiona and I we're playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Probably I don't know.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Perfect timing.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, seriously though, what am I doing?